Okay, so here we are. Told y'all we were going to go live with this TUTU ATWELL stream, and I just want to say I told y'all we were getting so much hate over on Patreon for us even having TUTU ATWELL ranked as a third-round rookie pick coming into the NFL draft, but I was looking at it and I was saying, hey, you know what? There's a decent shot that he is either drafted in the second round or at the very top of the third round in the real-life NFL draft. So with TUTU ATWELL, you have to have some kind of dynasty value with him just because he's a wide receiver that you can pretty much guarantee is going to have a shot to start year one. But yes, he goes to a situation which isn't necessarily fantastic. Now, we can break into it a little bit. So I want to keep everybody with their thoughts that Van Jefferson was also a second-round draft pick by this team last offseason, and that Van Jefferson is a completely different wide receiver. Van Jefferson was a slow wide receiver, very old, like Dwayne Eskridge coming in. He was someone that nobody in the Dynasty community really liked, and it's because people in the Dynasty community were smart. They looked at the underlying metrics. They went, you know what? The chance that Van Jefferson is anything is probably not going to happen. And I think we're going to see the same thing here with TUTU ATWELL. I don't know what is going on with Sean McVay. I don't know what's going on with this front office in drafting these wide receivers that just look like they're going to have a very difficult time to hit at the NFL level. Now, obviously, the problem with TUTU ATWELL, and I don't even feel like we need to bring this up, but the problem is I weigh more than TUTU ATWELL. And if I took a shot from an NFL kicker, and I'm not joking, an NFL punter, just whoever on an NFL roster, my body would probably snap in half. I probably would, I want to say get helicoptered out of the stadium, but I don't even know if I'd live long enough to make it to the helicopter. So I have no idea how we are actually going to have TUTU ATWELL going through and playing a full season. I have no idea how he is going to really make a difference in fantasy football, because very similar to what we were talking about with Dwayne Eskridge, I guess I could see a path for TUTU ATWELL to actually go through and help the Los Angeles Rams, and that maybe his speed is what this offense needs, because if you think about the wide receivers on this offense now that they don't have Josh Reynolds was that speed threat that they actually had. Now they have Cooper Kupp, slot guy. They have Robert Woods. Yeah, he has some speed to him, but he's a little bit more of a flanker. He's a little bit more of a guy that you're going to give touches to around the scrimmage. And then you also have Van Jefferson, who we just discussed being a second-round pick last offseason. And with Van Jefferson, he himself is a slot wide receiver. I think that they drafted Van Jefferson in case they weren't able to get Cooper Kupp an extension, which they did last offseason. So you look at this team, and yeah, they have a decent amount of wide receiver options. But if you're talking about the actual roles within the wide receiver position itself, they didn't have that prototypical field stretcher with some elite speed. So that is something that I want to point out. So while it looks like he's going to a crowded wide receiver room, in reality, he's going to a role that he's going to have on his own. So like I said, we've already discussed the red flags. We've already discussed the fact that TUTU ATWELL is a tiny, tiny human, coming from a tiny human in myself. Yet, I think that maybe we're going to be drafting him in fantasy drafts, because I know that pretty much everybody is going to be running for the hills with TUTU ATWELL. I know that nobody's going to want to touch him for great reason. Yet, if he is going to be filling that role for the Los Angeles Rams, where he's going to come in and day one be their field stretching option. Actually, not day one, because they bring in Deshaun Jackson. Completely forgot about that. Okay, so it looks like 2022, you are going to have TUTU ATWELL coming in, being the field stretching option, unless Deshaun Jackson, who hasn't been able to stay healthy in years, suffers an injury, which is probably likely. He hasn't stayed healthy in years, and then he's got another year older. So yeah, TUTU ATWELL probably going to have that role at some point in 2021. So if you have that guaranteed role on an offense, if you're playing with Matthew Stafford and you have Sean McVay, I think you have to have some type of dynasty value. I think you have to be worth a third-round rookie pick, especially if you're playing in a best ball format. I think TUTU ATWELL could be a little bit more interesting there, because he only needs just say 2 or 3 targets, 2 or 3 receptions to actually pop off and provide you a big week. If he has a random 70-yard reception that goes for a touchdown. So TUTU ATWELL, I know he's a gross player. I know nobody wants him. I understand that this looks like a bad pick from the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm not saying that it isn't a bad pick, but you have to understand the reason that this team did it, and the reason that this team did it is because they wanted some speed. But let me read the general chat real quick, check out what y'all are thinking with this. Okay, So let's see. Mike is out here. And then Joe says Mason for MVP. Thank you, my man. Ryan says 155, bro. Way too light. Yeah, okay. Now it looks like Terrace Marshall just got picked by the Carolina Panthers. We will dive into that in 1 second. Let me finish up and wrap up with TUTU Atwell. Then we'll start a new stream where I can talk about Terrace Marshall. But of course, guys, make sure you subscribe. That way that pops up in your subscription feed and you can go over there and jump in that. Okay, but anyway, let's go through. And Grant says TUTU might get some rushing attempts. I think that there's no way that happens. I would be very surprised if they decide to give some jet sweeps over to TUTU Atwell. I mean, they already have Robert Woods for that. Robert Woods has been shown that he is great in that role. Now you're going to be throwing that 155-pound wide receiver into the role where he can get crushed by a linebacker coming out of the backfield. No, I think that's a very bad idea. Okay, so Joe saying drop all those likes, y'all. Yeah, thank you so much, my dude. And yeah, I think that's it. Presidents is saying feel like the Rams needed a huge big-bodied wide receiver. No, the Rams' big-bodied wide receiver is actually Tyler Higbee, and this is coming from someone who really has not liked Tyler Higbee in the past. Like I've said before, I mean, Tyler Higbee was one of our clear avoids last offseason. But I think now Tyler Higbee plays that red zone role. You have Robert Woods being the flanker. You have Cooper Kupp playing the slot. And then you have TUTU Atwell / Deshaun Jackson, whoever's healthy at the time. They can be the field stretching option. So I think the pick makes sense. I would have preferred to see them go with someone else, but they definitely needed the field stretching option. And Diami Brown, RIP. This is what I was talking about coming into the draft, where I thought he was severely overvalued and that he was also a field stretching wide receiver, yet he was not going to have the same type of speed as some of these other guys. So yeah, clearly that is going to be dropping him down the rankings. TUTU Atwell himself, I think, is going to have to be a 3rd round rookie pick in Dynasty formats just because he has that guaranteed role. But yeah, let's end this live stream. Let's go through. Let's hop in the new one. And a reminder, our rookie rankings will be updated on Patreon tonight. Make sure you go